This is Alastair, and welcome back to the AI Cognitive Shift. This podcast is a collaboration of the Venture Variety Show and AiNews.com, in which we explore how AI impacts society, culture, and the future of work. Today's episode is with Guru Banavar, CTO of Viome. We talk about how AI is helping people take control of their health, not years from now, but today. Guru shares how Viome uses RNA data and massive AI models to personalize nutrition, identify disease risk, and even tell you when you're eating too much broccoli or turmeric. He and I also get into why he thinks the future of healthcare is at home. So let's get into it. How are you today, Guru?
Doing great, Alastair. Thank you very much for having me.
Introduce yourself, tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm one of the co-founders of a company called Viome, more formally Viome Life Sciences. We are a company that is focused on essentially eliminating chronic disease or getting as close to that as possible, right? So we want to focus on preventive health, which means that if you can get some insight into your health systemically from your gut, from your mouth, from your blood, and so forth, and if you can understand what is going on in the dynamic biology that is essentially changing every time you make decisions in your life, you can actually make better decisions in your life, right? So you can actually improve your lifestyle and prevent chronic diseases.
I want to explore how AI is involved with that. So first of all, when talking about Viome, how does AI play a role in what the company does?
Yeah, actually, first of all, let me tell you that my own background is a long-term focus on AI in many ways. I was involved in leading the IBM Watson platform, AI platform from IBM Research for many years. My team and I invented a lot of core technologies and built a lot of solutions for many clients during my time at IBM. But approximately 8 or 9 years ago, I decided that I wanted to focus my energy on the life sciences because I think that's one of the big challenges in the 21st century. You know, chronic disease is everywhere. Everybody that I know has some kind of chronic disease, and I had some really bad examples in my own immediate circle that made me decide that this is what I want to focus my energy on. And so for an AI person like myself, to redefine myself as a life science entrepreneur, so to speak. So there's a lot of information that we can capture from your biology right now. And I'm not just talking about fitness trackers like Aura or Apple Watch or something. I'm talking about understanding the dynamics of what is going on inside your gut or inside your mouth. So what we decided to do in Viome was to understand the nature of RNA gene expression in your entire body, top to bottom, through biological data. So first of all, my co-founder invented a technology called metatranscriptomics with which you can get the very high resolution information about every single RNA molecule in your biological sample. So in our main product in Viome, we ask our customers to give us 3 samples: stool sample, blood sample, and saliva sample, all from home. And we can use the same metatranscriptomic technology to understand the gene expression, meaning the RNA molecules present in all of these biological samples. But that data is humongous. It's millions and millions of features. And the only way that you can ever understand what's going on in that biology is through AI. That's why AI is important. So I brought my entire AI tool set, classical machine learning, knowledge representation and reasoning, bioinformatics, and we do a lot of discovery analytics. We, in fact, have the largest data set of gene expression anywhere on the planet. Right now, we have more than 1 million samples. We have people from more than 106 countries around the world who have taken our tests. So we have a ton of these samples. Some of them are repeat samples, from the same person. So all of that data has created this huge data set, which we analyze using many different types of AI techniques. And that's what I bring to the table. And based on that, we've built a recommendation engine. We've built a molecular pathway analysis tool. We've built custom bioinformatics for this metatranscriptomics. And just one last point I wanted to mention is that I'm not just talking about human genes, I'm talking also about microbial genes, right? So in other words, we're looking at the microbiome in your gut, in your mouth, and there are literally 100 times more genes in your microbiome than there are in your human genome. So we have a huge amount of data, both on the human side and the microbial side, and that's what we analyze using our AI tools.
AI is see, AI speaking generally. Uh, AI has helped to process a large amount of information to make sense of all this data, millions of data points and samples that you mentioned. So, I mean, is that correct?
Well, our data set is actually 10 to the power 16 right now, which is
Oh wow. Okay.
more than 10 petabytes. That's the data set
Okay.
size. From a single individual, we get many, like tens of millions of data points from a single individual. And we have a million such samples, right? So we have a humongous amount of data. So that's the data
Right.
set that I'm talking about here.
I see. I'm curious. You mentioned your time at IBM and working on the Watson project. How does what you're doing now compare to that? Is it many steps more advanced, or is it in some ways similar?
It's a lot more exciting, is the minimum I would
Okay.
say. But really, the kind of data set I'm talking about right now is not available anywhere in the world. No company, even if it's a pharma company, no government, no academic lab has the kind of data set I'm talking about. So this data set is very unique and it's super large and it's at the frontier of the life sciences because we are doing transcriptomics, which is RNA technology. The complexity and the sophistication of the AI that we're using is equal to or more than anything that anyone else is using, in my opinion. At the same time, we've made the outcome of that AI simple enough that consumers can directly buy our test. So if you're listening to this podcast, you can go to our website, viome.com right now, and you can purchase for yourself a kit called the Full Body Intelligence Kit, for example, where you send us 3 samples: stool sample, blood sample, saliva sample, and then in a couple of weeks or less, we will send you all of the information that we found, analyzed through the molecular pathway analysis that we do, the disease risk analysis that we do, the food and supplement recommendations, and we can even tell you precisely what to eat, what to not eat, what not to eat too much of based on your biology. And then we can, if you're interested, we can also we take all the superfoods that are best for you and create custom supplements for you and send that to you in a package to your house, right? That's our offering. And we have, like I said, hundreds of thousands of customers everywhere who have already purchased this and who've done it from home. You don't have to go to a clinic or a lab or anything like that. You do everything at home. And we believe that the future of healthcare is really at home.
It's fascinating how much of a role AI specifically, but technology in general, plays with personal health. Does society do we understand that? Do we understand that what you're talking about is just an amazing advancement in personal health and in healthcare in general?
I think that there's a lot of education that is
Yeah.
happening as we speak. To be honest with you, people understand what DNA means, right? I mean, a lot of
Right.
people understand, that there is a, encoding in your every cell to decide, what happens in your body. But the DNA is a static molecule. Just for everyone to know, it's part of the education here, right? DNA does not change from the time you're born till the time you die. So DNA is not responsible for 80 or 90% of the diseases that you might be exposed to. What is important is how DNA gets translated or transcribed to RNA. RNA is ribonucleic acid, which is another type of nucleotide, which is the expressed genes from your genome, right? So, what is not yet super widely understood is that RNA is the driver of chronic disease.
Hmm.
And chronic disease is like 60 to 80% of the population of the planet has some kind of chronic disease. Through our app, you can understand and you can get educated as you learn about yourself, about your biology, and do it in a way that is natural for you. Because you can ask yourself, how's my gut health? And it says, oh, your gut health is doing okay, not great, because of one, two, three, four, five. And then you say, number 3 is not great. Let me understand more about it. And then it explains to you what is going on and why it's going on. And then it gives you the scientific articles if you're interested in linking to that. Then it says, what can you do about it? Can you change, eating? One of my favorite recent, just 2 weeks ago, I got my recent test. I do it every year. So my bile acid pathways in my gut are not doing well right now, turns out. So I said, oh my God, it was always doing fine. what's going on right now. And I click into it and it says, if you want to improve your bile acid pathways, you should stop eating too much turmeric. My
Oh,
cuisine has a lot of turmeric. We use a lot of turmeric in my cuisine. Say stop eating that much turmeric, and so it's quite possible that I'm overdoing it, and that's actually increasing the difficulty of my system to metabolize uric acid, which I never thought would be a problem, but that's definitely something that can lead to issues if I'm not able to metabolize my uric acid, right? So that's the kind of, or bile acid, I'm sorry, bile acid. I meant bile acid, not uric acid. So that's the kind of insight that you can get from our test. You get dozens of such pathways, and what do you do about it, and why you need to do it, and that's a process of education. To answer your question about, is it well understood? Probably not well enough, but that's part of our mission as well, to make people
and
understand.
what a specific example too, like a spice, right?
Yeah.
Of not just a general, hey, there's an imbalance here. It's you may be eating too much turmeric.
Yes. Yes. And that's another misconception. People normally
Yeah, go
think
ahead.
of turmeric as an
Hmm.
anti-inflammatory, and it's a good
Hmm.
thing for you to eat. And so people add a little bit now and then and so forth. That's all good. However, not every food is good for everybody. Even
Hmm.
the healthiest foods, take broccoli, for example, right? Broccoli is a source of sulfides in
Hmm.
your gut. And if you overdo that, your sulfide production can increase to a point where it can also become inflammatory. So we measure how are your sulfide pathways in your gut. And so, something like 20-30% of the people that come to us, we tell them to take it easy on broccoli, something that is very, very generally thought of as a very healthy food. We said, hey, slow down on broccoli because that's not helping you, right? So it's not just about the food, it's about the combination of the food and your biology, right? If you don't
Hmm.
understand your biology, even the healthiest foods can actually be not good for you. And my turmeric is a great example of that.
When you talk about using AI as a tool for human agency, this seems to be what you're talking about. That using the technology, using AI to really hone in on what you need to do for your own
Exactly.
personal health. Yes.
And understanding your biology, right? The number first thing is I need to understand your specific biology before I
Hmm.
can tell you what is okay for you and what is not great for you, right? So understanding the biology requires a tremendous amount of bioinformatic and AI algorithms. I mean, we use all kinds of alignment algorithms and expectation management algorithms and other kinds of machine learning algorithms in our suite of AI that we use to just understand the millions and millions of reads that we get from your biological sample. Step one, right? But
Hmm.
once you understand that, then you have to translate that into what kinds of interactions will those molecules have that we detected in your body with food substrates, right? A food that contains, sulfates, right? What impact does that have, right? Or food that contains, anything that is a substrate for methane production. What impact does that have in your body, right? That interaction also is AI driven. And then finally, when we give you the results, you can think of a large language model as just being a user interface that helps you understand what we found through the molecular analysis. But the molecular analysis is the core IP that we have generated through our metatranscriptomic lab assay, and then all the algorithms we have in our bioinformatics and in our recommendation engine. Those are the core AI algorithms. At the end of the day, the large language models are simply a user interface for us to help make users understand or humans understand what's going on in their biology.
So, well, let me ask you this: in the future, is instead of going to a doctor, hey, if I break my bone or something, I'm going to go to a doctor. But if I'm having trouble sleeping, or maybe I fear I might be pre-diabetic, am I going to be searching up a Viome or some health AI powered health tech company to help me
I
out?
hope so. I hope so,
Yeah.
Alastair. So my view is that everyone who cares about their health and
Mhm.
living long and healthy, right? We call that a health span, right? I mean, you may live to be 90 years old, but what if your last 10 years are just not worth living,
Right.
kind of a thing, right? It's, you need
Right.
to live healthy until the last day of your life, right? If you care about that, you need to understand what's going on in your biology today especially as you grow older, right? As you go to your 40s and 50s and so on, you need to start tracking and monitoring, many different pathways in your body. Yes, of course, when you exercise well, when you eat well, when you sleep well, it's going to improve your overall health. But there are very specific things that are going on, and sometimes very subtle things that are going on in your body that you cannot tell just by living your daily life without understanding your biology. So I would say everyone should have the information that Viome is trying to provide at your fingertips. And I feel like we want to empower you with that information. Then you can make your own decisions about what groceries you want to buy this week, what
Hmm.
kinds of foods, or when you go to a restaurant, which choice of food that you want to pick, right? I mean, there was a time just about 6 months ago when I was avoiding Brussels sprouts, even though Brussels sprouts are one of my favorite vegetables. And I always used to look for Brussels sprouts related things. And I was avoiding it because I knew that my sulfite pathways were not good. And so I said, I'm going to take it easy for a few months until I get it back into shape. And then I slowly reintroduced it, right? My wife, the same thing. She had colitis several years ago, and she's taking care of understanding what her biology is doing and what she should eat and so forth. And now, when she looks at it, the doctor the last time that looked at her said, I don't believe that you had ulcerative colitis because there's absolutely no sign of it. So it is possible to, in fact, reverse, not just slow down the progression, but actually reverse disease like colitis back into a healthy state where doctors are not even able to tell that you had colitis in the past, right? So
Wow.
it's possible to do all of those things and live very healthy until the end of your life if you're able to track this and take care of yourself using the best available technology and the best available science today.
Can people use, I mean, chat, I mean, if they get this information, can they just put this into, generative AI? And is that where we're headed to?
No, we
Being able,
already
we
have
already do.
generative AI within the Viome solution as the
Oh,
last front end
I
that
see.
people can interact with to understand their own results and recommendation, right? So that's, to me, that's a UI technology in some sense, right? That's just a user
Mhm.
interface technology at the end of the
Exactly.
at the whole of the end of the whole stack of technologies we use. But on the back end, we have molecular technologies, we have bioinformatic technologies, we have recommendation pathways, and so on and so forth, and food ontologies, and all kinds of other components that first generate the knowledge, because nobody has the knowledge about your biology, right? So you can't go to ChatGPT and say, hey, tell me about my biology, because
Right.
ChatGPT doesn't know anything about you, about your biology. Because you're sending samples to Viome, we are able to analyze those samples and look at the molecules and understand you biologically. And then in the end, just to tell you the information, we can use a large language model to explain to you in words that you can understand, and you can ask more questions about the information that we've already discovered about your biology. So that's how it works in our solution.
So as we wind down here, just, what excites you most about where technology, where AI is headed next as we look at the intersection of biology and human health? What excites you?
The most exciting thing for me would be to see that people can live longer and people can live healthier longer. That would be the most exciting thing. So I want to see the results of our technology and of our solution in the hands of every individual on the planet, ideally. And I think it is possible to do that because we can scale this technology. We have made the cost low. We have made the stack and the laboratory and everything else that we need, both in the wet lab, the dry lab, and the full stack of AI that we need. Everything is now scalable to the point where everyone can get it. So the exciting part for me is that every human gets access to this type of information about themselves and is able to incorporate that in.
Thinking about how long you've worked in AI, going back to your IBM days, is there, if you could change maybe something about the way people think about AI, because there's a lot of misunderstanding, there's a lot of uncertainty, even fear about AI today. I mean,
Yeah.
what would you want people to know better about it?
Well, fundamentally, I'm an optimist about AI. So I think it's
Hmm.
going to help us at the end of the day. It's going to help us solve problems that we cannot solve without that type of advanced technology, right? I cannot imagine solving the life science problem without AI. It's just
Hmm.
impossible to do that. I think of AI as a tool that supports human endeavors. And at the same time, I think it does impact many people because, people may say, I'm not doing the job that I was doing before or something like that. So I think it requires us to learn more and adapt more. And that's not easy to do for everybody. But that's, if I were to pick one thing to suggest to people to remove your fear, I would say, learn how to learn and adapt, right? And that's, I think, the kind of skill that will help you the furthest or the most in your life. And AI, I think, is going to continuously improve. And I think AI is going to help you do whatever it is that you choose to do.
Well, on that note, very exciting to talk with you, Guru, and to hear about what Viome is doing. Really educational, and it's fascinating to see the amount of work that you've done, the amount of samples. It's incredible how things have grown. Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Alistair.
Well,
Yes,
thank you for
we
your
are.
time. Go
Thank you
ahead.
very much for your time, and I hope that your audience will go check out our website at viome.com.
That was Guru Banavar from Viome. A few things really stood out to me, like how the company sees LLMs not as magic, but simply a user interface on top of complex models. And I love the idea that the future of healthcare isn't in hospitals, it's in your home. If you enjoyed this podcast, please click like and subscribe or share it with someone curious about AI and health. On YouTube, you can also check out my other program, The Venture Variety Show, and the AiNews.com channel for more content. Also, if you got feedback or guest suggestions, please drop in a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in.